Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. I am here, of course. Amy is here, looking lovely as always.
Oh, yes. Thank
And
you.
as promoted, as promised, our dear friend Dave Landau is here. Hello, David. How are you?
Good. How about you, sir?
I am very good. One of my favorite things to do is a little research. Like what's going on in the world of Dave Landau. So I'll Google, and Google's bullshit mostly now, but I'll still Google and like what are the news trends? What are the whatever? And I bump into some of your stuff, dude. I was laughing so hard at the clip you posted on Instagram doing crowd work. The first mate.
Oh, thank you. First mate on a ferry.
Yeah.
How do you not just? Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You're like, yeah. So what are you doing? He's like, I'm the first mate on a ferry.
Yeah, I said that's the gayest sentence I've heard since I just took my prep. Come in my asshole. It just came out of. I just didn't expect it. And in Key West, the audience is filled with gay people, but they're laughing, just as hard. Because the guy looked, you can't see him on camera, but he was like this giant dude. And I just didn't expect him to be like, I'm the first mate on the ferry. I thought he'd say like Air Force or Marine, but it's like, no, he's just on a ferry. And then I met other people while I was there that were just, they worked at local things like a ferry, but they did like paragliding? Is that what that is?
Sure.
Where you
like you go above.
Apparently a lot of people
like they pull you on like a kite type thing.
Yeah, and I guess that goes awry a lot.
It does.
And like recently, like people had just died, and like the captain had just like cut the rope to let the people go because he thought that would be the better idea, is to send them flying. It's horrible, but like all this stuff is just done by people who, like, you're drunk in Key West.
That's just it.
And you expect these people to like have the best safety precautions.
I know. And I think the same thing when I'm in like a third world country. I'm in like the Dominican and I'm going, zip lining.
Bungee jumping.
Yeah. And like,
yes.
Who hung these? And like the dude that's strapping me in is it's from like stuff you bought at the hardware store, like those, thick things. And like, this is what's standing between me and imminent death.
Yeah.
That's what I had in Jamaica, where I'm like, well, clearly all these Jamaicans know safety and what they're talking about. They're all stoned. You're standing in like a tree on like a wiggly platform. Like there's no reason you should be doing it at all. It's terrifying.
I look at it now, like in America, we so take for granted that there are things in place and safety mechanisms. I feel like the closest we get is like the Livonia Spree comes to town for a couple weeks in the summer.
Yeah.
And like there's no fucking way I'm getting on one of those rides nowadays.
Hell no.
Like I'm just not doing it. But the bungee jumping, when you see it in some third world country, I'm always like, dude, you are insane.
I even feel that way when I go to Cedar Point nowadays, and I'm like waiting in line and I'm just looking at the rusted screws that are surrounding me. And I'm like, some drunk put this together and some teenager is running it, and I'm about to go upside down on it. So this is awesome.
Yeah, it changes.
Oh yeah, that's why you might get a free hat attached to somebody's head. I'll go there though, and like I'll be looking at like the Mean Streak that came out when I was a kid, and it's like basically just rusted away. But I still ride every ride. I don't know what it is. I enjoy every one of those, and even at local fairs, I will go on everything.
Yeah.
Like I got my son to go on the Gravitron.
Oh,
and
is that the one that like pushes
that's
you
the
back?
spinning
one?
Yeah,
put you on the wall.
Yeah, you're against the wall.
That would kill me.
Yeah, this dude I know, he's telling me. Yeah, he was telling me his pants came off on it, and because he had like sweatpants on, and they like got caught in the thing when it raises you up. So his dick's just out, and it's filled with kids. So now he's just trying to like cover his crotch. Yeah, but he can't find the actual gravity. So it looks like he's drawing attention to the fact that his dick's out.
That is spectacular.
It's like everything just got pulled down by the ride.
And his hands, he can't even move his hands. It's like struggle, like it's pinning him back. Like, you will show your dick to everybody. No, cover it.
Sounds to me.
No, that's why it's like you can't.
Sounds to me like he found the perfect place to be a creep. He's like, gravity just takes over at this point. I can't control it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, this thing has my pants as he's pulling them down.
They started around his ankles. He's like, my hands, I can't.
Yeah, his erection just firmly into his stomach from the gravity.
That brings up another horror story, if that's what gets him off, because my fear with that particular ride was you always heard the story of someone that puked and then the puke hit like every person on a ride. If that guy busts a nut while he's just raging in that thing, it's like, I didn't think you could get worse than puke, but some weirdo's nut would be.
Honestly, dude, I think I'd rather have the nut than the vomit. I think the nut would be better. It'd be less.
Yeah, I don't know.
Go ahead, Dave.
That's the way to go.
Yeah, you're right. No, I was listening. I agree. I don't know. I hate to say it, but a little bit of nut versus a ton of puke. What really would be bad would be the nut and puke simultaneously. Like you're on the same ride with all problems and you're just covered in jizz and cum. How'd you like the ride? It's good. I like coming to this church for the fair.
Yeah, that would be a tough one to explain. It's not just that your hair's all wild because you were in that thing. It's like, dude, you look like you puked and got cum on. And it was like, yeah well, kind of.
I just have to let you guys know that
there's a guy next to
for
me.
the first time, Mike, since I've started being on the show more regularly, for the first time ever, my mom has texted and said, where do I listen to this live show? And so I see Kelly just text her a link. And since we've been on, we've talked about the fairy guy and jizz in the face. So it's a great show for my mom.
Welcome to your extremely liberal mom. Hello.
Yes.
Thank you for your daughter.
We appreciate you joining us. We have other things to talk about than just, but that happened supposedly at the St. Joan of Arc Fair.
That's awesome.
St. Clair Shores. Like everybody was talking, not the semen, but the vomit, I think, was an actual thing I recall happening, because it would happen because people get really dizzy out there.
Yeah. Well, it's I bring up that bit I often talk about, as Crowder did, the fastest man in comedy, Dave Landau, and that's one of those ones when you see crowd work. There's lots of guys that do crowd work, and it's moments like that I'm referring to when I say that about you, Dave. It's so fast and so like. There's obviously a punchline when a guy goes, I'm a first mate on a ferry, and you're like, that's literally the gayest sentence I've ever heard. And then to top it off with, I just took my prep, fuck me in the ass, or like whatever you do, it's just like bang, bang, bang. It's so fast and so good, and the crowd is losing their minds. It's got to be a great feeling when you have those moments.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's fun. And when the audience just gives you a gift like that, it's absolutely fantastic. It's fun to play with. I like that. And I really just do it now because people like those clips, and I never really did it years ago. But the last couple of years, I've just kind of been talking to the crowd, and it's really fun what you can get out of them. Because a lot of them want to be part of it anyway. So you just end up kind of going with it. I like, too, I got to acknowledge a comment that says motel curtain. It's a hotel curtain for an actual nice hotel. I promise. It just looks like this.
Sure.
I'll show you. I don't even know if you can see. Let's see the view. Look at it. Can you see it at all?
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Very
that's
nice.
A great view. Yeah,
I'm pimping it,
yeah.
Dude, that's awesome.
But for some reason, they're definitely going with the model the casinos have, which is make something in the room so unpleasant to look at, you're forced to go and spend your life savings down at the Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah, totally. It is. There's nothing that makes you want to, everything makes you want to stay in the hotel itself, the casino, but nothing in your room. They want you out of that room, spending money downstairs. You're at Brad Garrett's in Vegas this weekend.
Yes.
So if anyone's listening who's on vacation or in the Vegas area, go see Dave. Also, I should mention you'll be on March 13th out at Helium Comedy Club in St. Louis. And then you're doing a week starting.
That one I had to move that one.
Okay. Nice job.
I should have told you that.
No, it's fine. It's fine. So you can look up Dave Landau dates and find him anywhere. But you're going to be in Fort Myers, Florida for a week. It looks like Hyenas.
Oh, when are you going to be there?
Starting Friday, March 28th.
Where am I?
Okay.
There you go.
Where at? I'm going to send my mom. That's where she lives.
Yeah, in Fort Myers Beach, Snappers Laugh-In Comedy Club. There's limited seats available on the 28th at 9:30, at 7 p.m. on the 29th at Snappers as well. So the 28th, 29th, and then so the 2 shows Friday and 2 shows Saturday, 28th and 29th. Unless that changed, Dave.
I was just going to say, I hope those change too, because that would be an amazing segment.
I need to go. I need to go look at my calendar, but I think I may have put in some Spokane dates incorrectly that are supposed to be April, and it's a long. I really got to fix my calendar.
Ignore everything.
I seriously go. I swear to God, I go to sit down and like write it all out and have it done on my website, and then 80 people call me, and then I just leave it up incorrectly. Yeah. So I do apologize for that. Well, I'm supposed to be doing Corolla's show that one week, so I had to move the St. Louis.
Okay,
one.
All right, and then I've got you at Hyenas in the Dallas area. That's where Drew and I
that's correct.
And Tess saw you. That's a cool little club and a great setup there. You'll be there from the 4th and 5th. It looks like doing a few shows, and then I am actually going to try. I don't know if I'll be able to pull this off, Dave, but you're going to be in San Jose, California at the San Jose Improv on April 10th for one day. So it doesn't look like we can hang out much, but I might try to just take an hour flight up there and hang out with my family for a couple days and go to that show. I don't know yet if I'm going to do it, but that's what I'm hoping.
You should do it.
Yeah. So anyways,
get on a plane, get out of the house.
Yeah, it is good for me to get out of here and do some stuff. I forget how much fun I have when I go to a show at Ridley's or Hyenas was a blast. Not the easiest to find. I'd recommend giving yourself 15 minutes because Drew and I walked around that and it was like, they're hiding this comedy club from us. Like, this is bullshit.
Yes,
but it's
a massively inconvenient location.
I mean, it's a cool spot. There's all kinds of shit there, but it's like behind a corner and then behind another corner. And you're like, this is crazy. And Drew and I are on the street, like yelling to security guys, like, where's the fucking comedy club? And he's like, okay, you're going to go up these stairs to the left, and then you're going to see a sign, and you're going to take a right, which is go 5 blocks, see Joan, and you're going to turn left. And you're like, okay, holy shit. So give yourself a window.
You're going to pass a train station for some reason.
Give
yourself some time to get
Can I just humble you guys really fast before we really start the show?
Sure.
I just saw a text from my mom come through that says, who are these people?
That's perfect.
Yeah. That's what we want.
So this is great. This is great.
Yeah. She has no idea. That's okay.
None whatsoever.
Okay. My grandmother's dying words.
Yes, exactly. Mine too.
This guy. You know what?
No, it's I get that a lot. Or I get recognized. Like I was walking to the Irvine Improv, and this guy's like, "You're Dave Landau," and I go, "Yeah." And he's like, I'm a huge fan. And I was like, oh, that's cool. You coming to the show tonight? And he's like, no, I'm just returning some shoes.
Yeah.
And that happens a lot where like, it's like, oh, but you're a huge fan and you're just walking past where I'm at. And he's like, yeah. Like, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you get your money back on them shoes. Thanks for acknowledging me publicly.
That's
okay. Lots of people don't know who I am.
Unless it's an event that you're supposed to be at a club. I remember I was at Somerset Mall one afternoon, and this is one of those highbrow, stuffy malls. I was on the north side or whatever, where it's like all the exclusive stores where they have people open the doors and hold them for you, and that always makes me feel uncomfortable. This guy opens the door in his suit and he's holding it, and I just walk by and he's like, huge fan of the show, man. It's like, oh, cool. Thanks. It's just like the weirdest spots that throw you off if someone's going to, see you, recognize you. Where do you get it the most? What's that, Amy?
Did you guys think I've never been recognized in public? Because I have one of those stories too.
Oh, nice.
FYI.
Let's hear
it. So I was at a work event in Lansing at the Capitol. And I'm like in full work mode, not thinking about anything else. And my
storming
my work people
storming it.
My work people don't really know like about my politics and my Twitter and that sort of thing. And so I'm just sitting there, and somebody from the Republican, he's a Republican representative in Lansing. He walks up, he's like, "Are you MAGA Barbie?" And I was like, yes, I am MAGA Barbie. And my coworkers are looking at me going like, "Who's MAGA Barbie? And what is this dude talking about?" And I'm like, I've never been recognized in public before. This is a very weird experience for me. And I obviously wasn't expecting it in that atmosphere. So that was fun.
Yeah, it's weird. You need to learn how to behave. Like, I'm terrible. I'm sure you've gotten good at this, Dave. Like, it's really uncomfortable when you say goodnight to a crowd. And, not that I'm getting standing ovations anywhere, but when you show up and go on a stage, like, my instinct is to just like fucking bury my head and run off stage. Like, "Thanks for coming, everybody," whenever we've done a live show or something. And you need to stand there and wave and thank everybody. But it never feels comfortable.
Oh no, I just walk right off.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't know why I'd wave. Just say goodnight. I'm not gonna stand there like, "Bye, everyone. Thank you for coming to the Zandex."
That's what you're supposed to do.
I look like a psycho.
That's what you're supposed to do, is sit there and take it in and be humble.
Trust me, the only people standing have already walked out because they're offended.
And that's all right.
I had 2 walk out last night. Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah.
I forgot what I said. Oh yeah, I told some joke, but that was the joke was a pedo punchline. And these shirts that said they were on a Vegas vacation were very upset by it. And they're like, "We're from Canada." Like, what does that have to do with anything? That you're humorless and upset about a joke? But yeah, if you and your friend have matching shirts, don't come to my show. You're gonna hate it.
Yeah. They probably wanted you jailed for that joke. They're reporting you.
Oh, I'm sure they were like, "In our country, you'd be put away."
Yeah.
This is not.
You have the queen on your money. I don't want to hear it from you.
Yeah, you have queen. You have toonies. Your dollars are quarters.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
So a lot going on. Follow Dave at Dave Landau on Twitter, Dave.Landau on Instagram. Normal World is going great. I always enjoy watching the show. You guys do some really good work. And I love seeing you on Fox. It seems like you're on Fox a lot lately. Doing Gutfeld.
Yeah, I've been doing Gutfeld. Yeah, Gutfeld, and then I'm doing Jimmy Fallon's show a lot. Well, I've done that every Thursday for like 8 years now, but now that he has his own show, I've been doing that a lot more. It's fun. They're fun shows to do. I'm just trying to get more exposure.
Yeah,
I guess because I've been doing this for so long. I thought I'd have more. I was famous for a minute, I think, a little, and then things happen.
Yeah. Well,
I'm
no, I mean,
myself.
Yeah, honestly, I think it's criminal that you don't have a show. Like, I think you'd be perfect if you could somehow knife Jimmy Fallon and just take his show. I think it'd be so good.
Mm-hmm.
That's just me.
It's very hard to penetrate those jackets.
Yeah, well, that's true. He does have a lot of sequin jackets.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right, why don't we get to some stuff?
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, and I mean, and
how's your diabetes?
And Gutfeld is great, but they might want to look into you to, maybe write some jokes here and there in addition to just appearing. I think you'd be good.
Agreed.
Yep.
Thank you. And likewise.
Thank you. Have you been
in your
following,
beatus is good? Sorry.
Yeah, no, It's awful. No, you ask me every time. It's fine. It sucks, and I'm dealing
Yes.
with the insurance companies right now. I switched insurance, and so I'm starting over. Total pain in the ass. So it's awful. Thank you for asking. I appreciate it.
So you're getting expired insulin?
Yeah. No, they won't even give me this stuff now. They're like, nah, you're good. You're good. Why do you
You're
need
fine.
both feet?
You've lost enough
And I'm
weight.
like, yeah,
What do you need vision
yeah,
for?
yeah. What? You need both eyes, asshole? Who's this selfish guy? Yeah,
And
it sucks, dude.
Crenshaw doesn't. All right. Yes.
Yeah. So it's kind of interesting. We've been in this weird time since COVID. Like, I know you're a big movie guy, Dave, and COVID was really like they shut everything down and weren't making movies. So we went from getting every weekend and multiple during the hot peak seasons of like these unbelievable movies throughout history dropping. And I feel like we're starting to turn the corner where they're starting to churn out some movies again. Have you seen anything lately that you're like, okay, we're back?
No, I think cinema's sadly kind of dead. I mean, I've seen a few things I guess I thought are all right, but I mean, even if you look at the the best picture nominations and everything, I mean, I hope Demi Moore wins personally, just because I think she's been in Hollywood enough. But I've seen some stuff that I thought was interesting. Heretic was interesting. But I think the problem is it's why Quentin Tarantino's stopping now, and he's going to start going and doing plays, or like his 10th film will be a play, because there's no reward to putting a movie out for 4 days in a theater and then just having it go to streaming. Like there's no, I don't know. There's something that we've lost in it. And I hope that we go back to creating some actual brilliant films. And I think obviously there are some, but I just don't think the constantly just pumping out everything possible that's cliche that Netflix and so many of these people do. I think it's all pretty terrible, to be honest with you.
Yeah. So what do you think? Like, you're obviously
not all.
I think what you're referring to is like Marvel universe and DC and Star Wars, like doing these where it's like, oh God, every week there's another spin-off bullshit thing, and it's just kind of thrown out there, taking advantage of these historic fan bases. But I don't know, like, have you seen the new Marvel Captain America?
No.
Yeah, don't.
I wasn't going to.
Yeah. It's so bad. And I'm like, how do you screw up, the Marvel universe? And it's getting panned and everything like that. But last night I watched the Bob Dylan movie with Timothy Chalamet.
How was that?
Well, I think it depends. I loved it, but I am a huge Dylan fan. Like I always have been. I love Dylan as a folk artist. But I'm fully aware that that there's an acquired taste to the Grateful Dead or Bob Dylan. I think Timothy Chalamet, like if he doesn't win the Oscar, and I don't know what lesbian, trans, one-toed, missing a toe actress we need to give the award to this year. I don't know who that is, but I don't know how you can look at something like that and not go, Timothy Chalamet literally learned how to play the guitar, how to sing like Dylan during time off, and literally played and sang.
Well, that's not that hard.
See, I think it is. It's incredible.
I've seen Dylan 6 times, and every time I'm like, any clue what he's singing? No? All right.
Well,
and it's not that I do appreciate him, but yeah. I did like the one a few years ago where like 6 different people played him.
Which one was that?
Like Kate Blanchett played Dylan. There's a bunch of people in the movie that played him. What was it? It was a few years back. I'm gonna look it up because this is riveting.
Yeah, sure.
I would like to just say that
I'm not.
I would like to. I want to hate Timothy Chalamet, and I don't know why. Like, I want to hate him because he seems just on the outset like a hateable person, and it's probably also like his closeness to the Kardashian family. I think that irritates me for some reason.
I didn't know about that.
But also, then I saw him on College Game Day, and I was like, this dude actually seems pretty likable. And then I saw all that he went to do this movie, and I'm like, I think he's actually really talented, and I don't think I can hate him, even though I want to.
Yeah, he was. I didn't know.
Yeah, he's a short Kang.
Yeah, it just kind of seems like babyish. I don't know.
Yeah, no doubt.
Not that I hate babies, but
it works for that mid-60s Dylan look with the hair.
We all do.
It
totally works for that, and I think it's pretty cool. And Ed Norton's in it, and Ed Norton's just great in everything. So
yeah, he is great.
I don't know. I liked it, but I'm a big fan of Dylan. That's why I was interested. I didn't know you were a fan, Dave. It sounds like you are if you've seen him 6 times. I've probably seen him 2 or 3 times, but
I saw him with Paul Simon twice, and then I saw him 4 times solo. One time was when he was in that weird Victoria's Secret, looked like the devil but dressed up in purple.
Yeah.
That was just awful, just every minute of it.
Yeah.
And other than that, I mean, I respect him. Like I do. I respect his story. But yeah, it's never been like, wow, this is perfectly sounding.
Yeah, no.
Pitch perfect Dylan.
I've seen him multiple times since the 90s, and you probably have too, is what you're talking about. The problem is we didn't see him in 1964, which is where you really wanted to see Dylan. And so I saw him Electric, and it was just like, can you lose all these guys and just bring the acoustic guitar out and do Masters of War and, that kind of stuff. So it is what it is, but that's what the movie deals with, is him playing the Newport Folk Festival and then wanting to go electric and them being like, we're folk. It's kind of a dumb premise, but Timothée Chalamet is so good in it, and his Dylan is so good.
I gotta watch it.
Yeah, you should.
But what about what about Amelia Perez? Have you heard of this, right?
What?
The movie Amelia Perez that's up for
that's the
Best
is
Picture?
That the trans movie?
Okay. It's the trans one about a Mexican that is offered an unusual job to help a notorious cartel boss retire and transition as a living woman. And then what happens is apparently he's still in love with his ex, and then comes back 6 years later as a woman and is upset that his ex is with somebody else, although he's a leader of a cartel who now has a pussy.
Well, that sounds intriguing.
And there's a musical number about turning a penis into a vagina. If you want to look it up, it's quite something.
Is it?
Where they're like they're like singing down the hallway, and they're like, "We're gonna remove your cock." Like I'm paraphrasing, but it's actually, the whole movie seems like a troll.
What's the movie called again?
And is actually Amelia Perez.
Is this like a Hollywood movie for real, like a real studio movie, or is this some?
Oh yeah, what's her name's in it? Zoe Saldana. Zoe Saldana.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to take a pass on that one probably.
No, you got to take a hard look. I need you to watch that. And then the other ones are, I've never even heard of Nickel Boys. I like The Substance. Dune Part 2 is all right. And then there's Conclave, which is, I guess, about the Catholic Church. So I can't imagine what happens there.
Yeah. Are those like up for Oscars right now? Is that the deal?
Oscars?
Yeah,
they're up for Oscars right now.
I stopped. I stopped years ago paying attention to the Oscars when it just turned into just such a joke. I think it's bullshit that they've never acknowledged the comedy movies, which would be the biggest movies of the year. You can't tell me there's something about Mary isn't an Oscar-worthy picture, or Dumb and Dumber. Stuff like that, but they're never acknowledged. And so it's like, oh, and then it's gotten to the ridiculous level of no one's even heard of these movies. Yeah,
that's pretty much where it's
at.
Yeah. But I mean, I would see the Dylan one. I mean, I'm with you. I don't know. I think it would be good. The award shows don't mean anything to me anymore. I'll watch it because Conan's hosting. Other than that, I don't care.
Yeah.
I have and I do love film. I do. I just don't see a lot of stuff lately. The Substance I thought was interesting. I I thought it was an interesting look on a woman who is trying to basically getting thrown out of Hollywood for being old, and that's basically it.
Yeah.
Like, it's still Demi Moore. She's still beautiful. But she's just too old. So then she has to become this other person. And Dennis Quaid's amazing as her agent. He's just this complete scumbag. And by the end, it's just this monster that we've created, basically. And I thought there was a lot to it, and I liked it.
I liked it too. I saw that one. I can't remember. It's escaping me the name of it right now. But I liked it too. The end got a little bit much for me, putting the mask on and walking out. But maybe that was the larger point.
Yeah.
Yeah. What other movies have you?
Yeah, when it's just this giant, hideous creature.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really good and strong. I thought Demi was great, and I agree with you. What's his name is unbelievable. Dennis Quaid is unbelievable in it.
Yeah.
So gross.
Like, I've gone back and watched some movies. Like, I rewatched Road to Perdition the other day. I don't know if you've ever seen that. It's with Tom Hanks and Paul Newman, and it's a really good movie, and I forgot that. So I'm really hoping Tom Hanks is not on the Epstein list today, because I was enjoying that.
Yeah. What do you think of that?
It's a really good movie.
What do you think of the Epstein list? There's been back and forth. They're apparently trying to redact some names of people, family members and stuff before releasing it. But it sounds like it's coming out today at some point.
Yeah, it sounds like part 1 was released already today. A bunch of reporters left the White House with binders that said, Epstein files part 1, basically. So we shall see. I don't think it's not everything. It's not like a list of, but I think it's a start, my God, it's more than anybody else has ever done.
It is a start. Yeah. Oh yeah. It's way more. But I mean, if you're redacting the names, what's the point?
Well, redacting victims' names.
Victims and family, like that are.
Oh, victims and family. Okay.
Yeah.
So again, I ask. No, but no, I'm interested because how many people just rented a plane? How many people went to an island? How many people knew what it really was? I mean, there's so many wealthy and elite people that have rented these planes. It's not to defend anybody, but the chance of them all being, the names they have released, which is Stephen Hawking and David Copperfield, which is just hilarious.
Yeah.
A magician and a guy that the only hard bone on him was his dick.
Yeah.
But I'm very interested to see what it is, but are they really going to be able to tell who did what?
That's interesting you say that, because I got into a debate with my brother about this upstairs, and it was kind of like, and I literally have it in my notes to ask, like, is a fuck island for wealthy people always bad? Is that just inherently bad? Because it's not lost on me that if you're Bill Gates and you're not getting any at home and this marriage isn't working out, he can't just go down to the local corner bar and pick up he can't go hang out at the library. And so, and that's true of a lot of like really prominent figures politically in Hollywood. Obviously, if you're paying underage people, or if you're just kind of scooping up underage people and bringing them there. But is there a scenario that exists where it's like, yeah, Tom Hanks was there because it's an island you can go to. It's beautiful. You can hang out and get fucked up, and you know that no one's going to have cameras on you, and you're not going to walk out the door to TMZ being there. And like,
what's interesting about this, Mike, I was actually listening, and it kind of goes along the same path, but with Diddy. I was listening to the Piers Morgan show, and they had a panel that was talking about Diddy recently, and they had 2 defense attorneys on there, and one was Garagos, and he was basically saying, and his daughter is on Diddy's defense team, and he's like, from what I understand, the videos, he's like, people have this idea that there's these videos of all these like, celebrities participating in these like events, and he's like, from what I understand, it's Diddy with 3 chicks, albeit like prostitutes. He's like, but Diddy was a voyeur, like to watch his chick, but they're all consenting adults. They're not there, they're not being forced to be there. And they're like, we're not defending Diddy with what he did with Cassie in the hallway and everything. But just when you look at that specific case, like, is what he did illegal. I mean, like to the point of what they're trying to charge him with, you know? And Mike, I always think about how you used to say like, sex is like the only thing that once you pay for it, it becomes illegal, and it doesn't really totally make sense. And it kind of just goes along with what you were saying. Like, yeah, these are big time people. And when they have to go somewhere, like you said, if they're sick of their wife. But I think it's also important to keep in mind, like, what is being released, and what's being released essentially is a case file, right? Like everything you gather during an investigation, that's witness interviews and that sort of thing. So, you know, he might have a book of people he's dealt with in the past, but unless you have a corroborating interview with like someone who was a minor at the time and says, yeah, so-and-so touched me on the island, well, then you can't just assume that everything that happened there was illegal activity just because you went there. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not defending him, but that's just kind of my thought.
No. I mean, I think it's just defending calling people out and claiming somebody is a pedo that's a lot. Yeah. Yep. So if you're somebody who's rented a plane or just connected with people, or clearly, I mean, the guy who has all the information was beaten to death in his prison cell. I mean, killed himself. Right. And he's the guy who really knows the inside scoop on who it was. Right. But we're dealing with a government too that has misplaced $4.3 trillion. Yeah. Sorry. Every time I say it, it's just shocking. Yeah. So anything that we can get from them, I'm not going to necessarily believe anyway. Yeah. And with Diddy too, like, yeah, I'm not defending him either. I think that he was throwing these giant, ridiculously, like, obviously, like, lavish sex parties and had thousands of bottles, whatever it was, you know. But there's been more speculation, it seems, than proof. Right. And I'd be interested to see what actually comes out, because he's in a one-man human trafficking case. Right. It's a bizarre thing for a rapper. Right. And then you have these other people now who, to carefully go through this list of who is actually there. Now, I think Bill Clinton's probably guilty. Yep. I think there's a lot of people that we know, Kevin Spacey, you know, I think there's a lot of people we know that are guilty. Yeah. And there's people, like you said, that can corroborate that. But I really don't know what we're going to find out that will be true.
Well, it's going to be a lot of
that you can just flat out say this person did this.
Yeah. And I don't expect anybody to tell the truth or hide as much as they can, but it's not lost on me that when you bring it up, like, oh, Bill Clinton, were you anybody that tried to even sort of ask people around Bill Clinton, was he ever? And it's like, no. And then when it's like, oh, well, there's flight logs, and it's like, well, maybe once or twice, and now it's like dozens of times. Like, if you went, yeah, we were having philanthropic meetings, and why not do it at a gorgeous island? So yeah, we flew on his jet there, and that's the end of it. But when you start going, nope, never been there, I don't know what you're talking about. And it's like, no, first off, it's never made sense to me that Bill Gates at the time was the richest man in the world. Why would he need to go to a financier to help funding with philanthropic adventures? Like, no, that's the benefit of being the richest man in the world, is you don't need to go to these bullshit meetings anymore and try to secure a couple $1 million to say,
and you didn't need his plane.
No, he didn't need his plane. He had his own, and he could have just walked into any bar and said he was a lesbian that just beaten cancer and got laid.
Right.
100%.
Like that.
But you're right. Like there's no reason he should be there other than that.
Right.
Other than the sex.
You know what's interesting is I wonder if people who did do legal stuff with Jeffrey Epstein are just like freaking the fuck out, because they probably have no idea what the feds have. And everyone is probably just sitting there going, oh my God, what is going to come out in this dump? My name is going to be associated with, like, if I were at all associated with Jeffrey Epstein, I would be so getting out in front of this and being like, hey, I don't know what's in there. I would have done it right after he died, because he was gone, and like, who can corroborate it? But like, if you think that there's you need to get ahead of it, and you need to come out with whatever the story is. Because if your name comes out in these files, it's not going to be good.
Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right. And what bothers me is how many didn't, that were just like, hey, I was on it. I didn't know, I'm just going to put this out there. You can think what you want, because look, there's a chance that America's going to forgive you. The problem is we are definitely a guilty until proven innocent culture, but you're never really proven innocent anymore. Like once you have that scarlet letter of anything, you're done the rest of your life because everybody just is going to believe whatever they want. They don't really care. We're a society that feeds off of drama and hypocrisy. So the fact that anybody is going to be related to it, they're going to pay for it the rest of their life, regardless of if they were guilty or not. Now, those who are guilty, they deserve it. They deserve every bit of it. Because there is like, I understand you're going to go have sex with younger girls, you're rich, whatever. Sure, that happens. I get it. But if you're part of an actual ring that involves trafficking and pedophilia and picking, like, that's a serious problem. Like, that's why that's why Elaine or Maxwell, Ghislaine, whatever, Ghislaine. But that's why she's in prison, is because it's essentially kidnapping charges.
100%.
And
she deserves to be there.
Problem with the island.
Well, you look
she deserves to die, but she's in prison.
You look at Jeffrey Epstein, and the funny thing was, to us, when he went to prison, the next morning, everybody in America that does a talk show, including this one, went, oh yeah, he's going to fucking be he's going to commit suicide in jail. Like, it was a joke nationally, like, heads up, you've messed with the wrong powerful people. And what do you know? He does. And what do you know? The guard was asleep at the station. And what do you know? The cameras didn't work. And what do you know? The he's on an anti-suicide board, and like every fail-safe failed. And what do you like? And it's just like, yeah, what? Nothing to see here. He committed suicide, and we're all supposed to go, yeah, no, that none of that makes any sense. And so
they took his belt and his shoelaces, and he was under constant monitoring. And then again, in a year where cameras don't glitch, the cameras glitch just enough to have him supposedly hang himself.
Yeah.
Yes. And the guard happened to, I don't know, not be paying attention.
Yeah, be asleep or.
Oh yeah, they said there was a guard shift, so he's just like, all right, I'm gonna head out. A little early today.
And then he tripped and he unplugged the camera. And then that stopped working, and just at that right time, Jeffrey Epstein you got to admit, though, that was
He's
a fun...
my belt flew off, and Jeffrey grabbed it.
That was a fun time in history, though, because if you remember, like, everyone was trying to work in Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself into everything. Like, I remember being at the grocery store, and someone ran up and grabbed one of those phones that goes out to, like, the whole store, and was like, Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. And it was just, like, everywhere, and it became to the point where, like, the professional, sports teams are trying to block it every time it gets shown on a sign or something on TV, and it's kind of fun.
So why the protection then?
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I did too, but why the protection? Why would you have anyone, Republican, Democrat, independent, celebrity, why would anybody be going to any sort of length to make sure that the American public does not get there? Like, the FBI's been in possession of the Epstein files, the little black book, for years. So why would anybody, like, to me, that says you're guilty of something.
Because you have agents that are on it, and who knows if they partook in things. That's happened in the past. You have people that are involved in government. You have people that are senators. You have people that are very important. I mean, even if you go back looking at like, let's look at the movie Casino, where he's got, the senator in the hotel, and he gets him a hooker, and then once they're on trial, he's like, I've never been to the Tangiers Hotel. And I mean, that's all based on a fact that happened at the Stardust.
Yeah.
I mean, the idea that these inside trading people who run this country, who are worth millions and millions of dollars, who make all their cash off of essentially getting us to buy whatever they need to make them rich, would have any morals to not go to an island and have sex with people, is astounding. That's why they're hiding it. They're hiding it because of the names that are on it. It's not because of the celebrities. They don't care you think they care if Chris Tucker's on the list? They care if Ted Cruz might be on the list. I'm not saying he is. I'm just using an example.
Yeah.
That, it's like they care. Who are they protecting? They're protecting themselves, and they're protecting the agencies that have had so many issues over the years. That
No. Please finish.
But I'm saying, like, with the CIA, with the FBI, with even the IRS that they're going into now, which I like to see, because I was audited to the tune of 33 grand for money I didn't
Oh
owe.
my God.
And they arbitrarily just came up with, you can't write off your hotels in 2020. Why?
Yeah.
You can't write off a home office. You can't. And then they just decided on this arbitrary number to just screw me out of money. I think that should be audited. Go into Fort Knox and see what's going on. I mean, there's a reason all of this has been hidden from us, is because there's a nefarious thing happening to all of us, and it's been going on for far too long. And I think with why I joke about the 4.3 trillion, it's like, you just misplaced 4.3 trillion dollars. How you were just like, well, we went to Applebee's, I bought a hat. Like, where
we had 4,000 Microsoft Office subscriptions, and we only needed 2 because nobody worked, and it's like the most ridiculous stuff that they were spending money on.
When you look at the list, and we've gone through it, the one DOGE release, and I agree with people that say, you've got to be accurate with this stuff, but the people that
you do,
the people that are like, we still have a faction of people that go, oh, Trump's in charge, so everything he does and says is evil, wrong. He's obviously Hitler. And so you find yourself going to bat for $14 million for social cohesion in Mali, $2.5 million for inclusive democracies in Southern Africa. Like, what are you actually defending? Like, this list has been out for a few days, and I don't know how you can say 1.5 million of U.S. taxpayer dollars went for voter confidence in Liberia. Like,
I don't hear anybody defending. I don't hear anybody defending that. I just hear them getting mad at how they're going about finding that information. Like, I've not yet heard of anybody defending that stuff. It's just like, well, now Elon has access to my tax return, and and it's ridiculous. I want to say about Epstein, though, really quick, is I think another reason that they're very quick to hide this is it can't be ignored or discounted that Jeffrey Epstein was very likely probably used by our government to blackmail all of these powerful people. And that is very likely still going on today. So, it wouldn't be the first time. You think about Manson and the stuff that, he presumably was involved in with the government and stuff. And so that's why they want to protect it. Like Dave said, the people who were actually there, the politicians, the people in power, but also because they're still doing it. And they,
And I was just listening to, I'm trying to think of his name, and Indian guy.
Vivek.
He's in Trump's cabinet.
Vivek Ramaswamy.
No, not Vivek. No, not Vivek. But he was saying that he had seen the file.
Cash
Patel. And he was saying that he had seen the files for JFK. And he said, it's not that what you see is going to surprise you. It's just that you have to see where it starts and how it's still going on. That's why it's being hidden. And that's exactly why I agree with Amy, is it's because it is to protect these powerful people and the way that they've always played this. The problem is now there's a lot of disinformation, but there is a lot of ways to get real information. And the way, like Elon or not, like Trump or not, if Biden would have gone in there and done the same thing, I would have appreciated it. I mean, there's a way where we deserve to find this out as Americans, and I think it sucks because we're being trained like seals to not question anything. So the people going against it, like, dude, they're wearing masks. They're still living in 5 years ago. They're terrified of everything. And you're a punk, and you're a liberal, and you're championing the government. It doesn't even add up.
No, I look at it as this should always have been the way. Like, what you spend your money on is your business. I don't give a shit. What Dave wants to waste every penny he's ever made on Skittles, I don't care. I don't need an accounting for that at all. But what Starburst, yeah. Sorry, the pink ones are by far the best. I'm glad they're issuing just all pink now.
I chew them.
They're fantastic. But
it's about time.
But what you spend our money on is our business. And to your point, Dave,
it is.
If that had been the Biden administration going through that, I'd be like, well, finally, something I agree with this.
Something we can agree on. Exactly.
Yeah, we can agree. Like, you've been entrusted with our money, and you don't, like, Dave, we went out to dinner. You and Drew and I in Dallas went to a nice steakhouse, and you paid for it. and the company paid for it. Like, my guess is you can't just run up that company card with nothing and come back and just be like, yeah, you guys owe me $100,000. And they're like, well, for what? And you went, you do. Why are you asking so many questions? Like, you would never even.
Why do you want to know?
You better have a documentation.
Like you wrote 4 points. Everything just says Kinko's. Just $4 trillion of Kinko's.
Yeah.
No, you're right. It's our money, and it goes back to the sex thing too, where okay, you care a lot about human trafficking, and this is not something that everybody is going to agree with, but you have pornography that is essentially legal, where people are paid to have sex with a camera on. Now, you can't do that with a camera off in the privacy of your own bedroom, because that would be weird.
Right.
Yeah.
If you want to really stop human trafficking, there are ways to make it legal and out of sight. And there are people who want to be sex workers.
Right.
So let them be sex
Right.
workers. And you can watch, and it's not going to be a fix-all, nothing is, but you will see that human trafficking, kidnapping, certain things, those will all be taken down, because now this giant distraction of anything could be prostitution is whittled away, and you can focus at the real victims, which are the kids and the people who are being trafficked. Why not do that?
Yeah.
Because we're a fake puritanical country. That's what sucks.
Yeah.
Right.
We pretend to be far more puritanical than we actually are.
Do you feel the same way, Dave, about like drugs, legalization of drugs? Like, I think for the first time in my life, with what's gone on with like fentanyl, for instance, it's like, yeah, if you wanted to have FDA oversight, like I've done coke before. I'm not a big fan of it. And if it was sold in gas stations and it was FDA approved, does that mean necessarily I'm going to run out and buy a bunch of blow? No, it doesn't.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
it doesn't.
I snort gas station boner pills. No.
Give me all the gas station coke.
Yeah. But, maybe that's reckless.
It's pretty much where you do get it now.
Yeah, right.
So anyways, sorry.
No, you're fine.
I didn't mean to interrupt
No,
you.
you're fine. Go ahead.
No, I'm with you. I think that because fentanyl is so dangerous and lethal, and opioids, I worked in a pharmacy before the opioid pandemic, and I've lost a lot of people to fentanyl, as I'm sure you both have. And I mean, we used to swipe the pills all the time because, I mean, they did it by weight. Nobody cared. This is the 90s. It was before it had ever become an issue. But I mean, you could take pills are a very serious thing, and they're very, very addictive. The problem is we overcorrect everything in society, and then we undercorrect it. So, all right, we give you all these pills. Now you have a 70-year-old nana with a broken hip who has to turn to the street. She's getting crushed fentanyl, into a Vicodin, and then she's dead. And it's because all these doctors who were overprescribing it now underprescribe it, or the new doctors are afraid to prescribe it. And I think that sucks.
Yeah.
Now, recreationally, mushrooms, ketamine, all this stuff that's being used now to treat depression. It's like, yeah, I remember using that when I was 16 to treat my depression.
Yeah.
I've had it my whole life. Like, you're telling me, like, 25 years later, you've finally done the science to realize that a drug that changes your reality to make it happy treats depression.
And like, why did it take so long?
What amazing.
It took so long for that, but like the COVID vaccine, they're like, here, this is fine. Just take it. But we're like, no, wait, we have these things called mushrooms and they're really helping. And it's like, no.
Yeah.
We need more time. We need more time to look at it.
Do you think that changes?
We need to give you Adderall, which is somehow Coke Light.
Legalized cocaine.
Sorry.
Coke Light. Do you think that changes in our lifetime? Do you think they get to a point where it's like, because I've made the argument for many, many years on this show that by far the most harmful, most destructive drug that I've ever taken, of all the ones I've taken, is alcohol. It's not even close. That's the only one that's going to make me bang a random chick that I don't know, that's disgusting looking. It's the only drug that's going to make me say something.
Ecstasy.
Maybe ecstasy.
Correct.
But it's the only drug that I've ever taken that's going to make me say something completely out of character and offend everyone I care about. Like, that drug specifically does that. Coke's never done that to me. Fucking pills have never done that to me. So I wonder, do you think we ever get to a place where it's like, yeah, it's ridiculous, the categorization of marijuana or any of these other drugs? Or do you think that is still a fight that's worth, because there's obviously lobbyists and prison unions that want to keep people locked up for that shit.
It's true. I think, well, they've legalized marijuana, and I will say that there are situations I feel that you've gone too far with it, to the point that it's like, all right, how high do you need to get? Maybe I'm wrong. I haven't used it in a long time, but the fact that anybody is sitting in jail for marijuana still, which we can, I guess I should say Kamala put them there, but anybody who's still sitting in prison for that, they should be let go. It should be retroactive. There's no reason that it should have been illegal. It was made illegal, slightly before prohibition, to help build up alcohol sales. So, I mean, it was just one drug company fighting another drug company, while at the same time you had legalized cocaine, legalized heroin, legalized crystal meth. I don't even think crystal meth was illegal until the 90s.
Really?
So a lot of these it took a while because it wasn't that known.
Yeah.
So it's hard to make something, an illegal narcotic if it's not popular. So you have all these things that fought against the plant. And alcohol, for me, as somebody who's a recovering alcoholic, that's the one that's been most detrimental to me. I think the most, because it's basically coming in through our borders as a toxin to kill us. And that may not be deliberate. I think it is, but it is killing us. And it's a serious problem. So that's something that I think it has to be taken care of and corrected. I mean, Detroit, the Canadian border, was where the biggest fentanyl bust in U.S. history was just a few months ago.
Recently.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And when you look at the amount, it's like that. It's not even that much.
It's crazy.
That's how
you can
lethal
just touch it. You can touch it and it can give you a reaction. I mean, it's so little, tiniest amount.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kids will touch bags on playgrounds and die. It's a very serious, fentanyl smoke has killed babies that are asleep in the room next to them. And not to be bleak, but I mean, that to me seems like the number one problem and the number one drug facing our country. And now they're saying like, oh, well, mushrooms are fine. It's like, they've always been.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like how, we act like we're free. We're not. We have an illusion of it, but I mean, we're not.
Yeah.
And that's what I think they're hiding. I mean, to break down the entire conversation, we're just being hidden in the fact that we're constantly being lied to. We don't really know what's going on with the government. We don't know what's going on, why our soldiers aren't taken care of. We don't know why all these people are allowed to do so many drugs, then they're taken away and then turned to the streets. We don't do anything for veterans. We don't, like, the list goes on and on about how screwed the American people are. So to try to stand up against that and be like, listen, I don't think you should go into the CIA or IRS and see if they're doing anything wrong. Are you out of your fucking mind? Why?
Yeah. Why? When you bring up the veterans, and I know, Dave, you do a lot of charity work. Obviously, your story we've talked about before with your father and Agent Orange, and which has a ripple effect that wipes out your whole family, essentially. It doesn't make sense to me. The more as you get older and you think more about this stuff, you see more of this stuff, you're privy to more information. It just doesn't make sense that you have this many people that have served this nation, that have fought for this nation. Like, it just seems like, as much as we pedestal, oh, look at Tom Cruise or insert celebrity here or Kardashian, that you wouldn't have a society that goes, yeah, the numbers aren't that huge of people that need help. And whether that's a house, if that's food help, like, these are the people that have done their fucking job for this country. Like, we have to make sure that encourages the children of those brave people to continue that legacy. Like, there's no way someone like you would join the military after you saw what they did to your father.
No. And I mean, to me, I have a ton of respect for soldiers, and that's why I do a lot of those shows. And I really do appreciate everything that they do. But you do have to be honest and go, there's not a lot of trust fund kids that join the military. Why?
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of people that are not rich and they have somewhere to go. So now you have somewhere to go. You're fighting for this country. You live, and then you're not taken care of. And that's part of even what happened with my family. And I see, like, they just started paying out mustard gas a couple years ago to people that died during World War II. to their families.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, that's crazy. And then the amount of money that each family would need, let's say 10% of what my dad lost, that's 400 grand would be 10% of paying out of pocket for his own surgery because the VA didn't help him. 10% would be 400 grand. You deny that claim every time to help with my family, but then you misplace $4 trillion. And I think that goes for so many of these people now who are coming back, war overseas, war in Iraq, war in Afghanistan, war, and they're not given the things that they were promised, which obviously the money is there. It's just missing.
Right.
So Dave, do you know what in that time, and it's probably a blur and it's a lot of years ago, but do you remember like what was the justification for the VA? Like you're talking about the Veterans Association that is meant to deal with the problems and needs of veterans and health as they age, their families. Like it's specific. It's not Beaumont. It's specifically set up to deal with them. Like your dad gets sick and it's clear why. Why on earth would they be like, no, you're going to go bankrupt and your family can good luck to them. And good luck to these boys that you have. Like, what was the justification in the paperwork? Like to deny you guys?
One was, okay, you're up in the helicopter spraying it down onto the actual fields, right? To kill these plants, because what Agent Orange was to kill plants. Yes. So it killed plants. You could see the Viet Cong that were hiding in the trees. So obviously when you get back, you got to wash the helicopter. What do you think it's covered in? What do you think it's, the exposure to it was throughout the entire country. It didn't matter if you were by the beach, by plants, whatever. It blew everywhere, and there's still effects of people that got it in both Vietnam and the U.S. today. It's led to all kinds of diseases from Parkinson's, whatever. My dad was specifically a soft cell sarcoma brain tumor on his brainstem, and they said that there's no way Agent Orange could have caused that. So after years of research, it turns out that it did cause that. It was actually something that was reported by several soldiers, and it ended up being something that they began to pay out. But because my mom had been denied twice, she was not allowed to fill out the paperwork a third time, and she was never paid anything for my dad's loss in the 10 years of his life and work and everything while he dealt with that illness. And it was arbitrary, and everybody who I've talked to the VA who's a soldier hates it, but they're not the ones who come down to the fine. I mean, I've had it to the point where they're about to write a check and then somebody stops it. And at this point, it's not even about the money. It's about justice. I'll give it to people that need it. Yeah. It's just about the fact that it's been acknowledged by them and they still refuse to pay out. And I talk to people all the time at shows who have heard that story and feel the same way, because it had this detrimental effect on their family, and the government did absolutely nothing to protect them. And this wasn't a war that people went to voluntarily. This is a war that was you go or you go to prison or you're a draft dodger. Right. And my dad went in between colleges where he just happened to not be in school. And he's like, the only lottery I ever won was my draft number getting called right when I didn't want it to be.
Yeah. So what happens if, like, it just seems to me that's a clear-cut case that you get a lawyer, you file a lawsuit and go, sorry, you owe us $4 million and you better be damn, you know for certain that if you owed them $4 million, that would be $12 million in penalties and interest. Mm-hmm. So,
oh my God. Why, yeah.
At least. So why couldn't, like, have you ever thought of that? Like, no, I'm going to speak on behalf of these people. I have a platform, I have a voice, and I'm going to get justice in this case. What would happen?
You're dealing with the people that are being paid to keep the money from you.
Yeah.
I mean, who are you fighting? You're fighting the people with the cash. You're fighting the people that have power over you. So what does it do? It's never worked. It's been admitted. And even though they've admitted it, it's never been rectified. And that's why I've talked about it on so many shows, because the older I get, the more angry I am about it. Like, I'm raising a son, and, I'm 42. I'm about the age my dad was when he was getting sick. And it's a difficult thing that my son will never really meet either of his grandparents as a result of this. And I know there's so many people who have even worse struggles and worse problems, and there's no doubt about that, and have had amputations, limbs blown off, paralysis, and they have to fight the VA and they get nothing. And the idea that we have these soldiers to protect a freedom that we have and we do nothing for them, or should I say the minimum? We do the minimum, so we say we do something. Well, Nancy Pelosi lives in a mansion and insider trading on a government salary, while all these corrupt people and all these bureaucrats, all these people that are involved in Washington, while all of them make money, even off of the vaccine, all these people that were invested in Pfizer and Moderna and J&J, like what, you just magically knew? Or did you invest in that and then tell the entire country to take a shot? Oh, right, that's what you did. And then you wonder why people like me question that. And then I get called this diehard right-wing extremist because I'm going, the government killed my dad. I don't trust what they're doing. This is a vaccine being rushed. I think you should look at it. And I'm only doing this because I've had way too much medical shit happen in my life involving my family that none of it seemed to make sense. And then who's behind it? The Fauci, who is responsible for the AZT cocktail that killed more people than AIDS did. That's who's in charge of protecting us from a cold. And now, 5 years later, you got people wearing masks because they don't know how to function in society. That is PTSD from a lockdown. And that is what we're seeing when people walk out into public. They are afraid to be outside. Everything needs to be put in check now. We have been fucked with so badly as America. Sorry, Amy, if I'm babbling, but I
got a text. I'm sorry. It did look like I was checking my watch. That was so incredibly rude.
Jesus.
Is this guy still fucking going?
So sorry.
Your dad died. No. We get it.
We get it.
Come on. Your dad? Come on.
We've all had a dad.
I'm the only one. I'm the only one on this call with a living father. So you two should bond like nothing. No, go ahead, Dave.
No, and that's, but that's to ramble. I've said it many times, and that's why I do shows for troops and stuff to raise money. My uncle runs one and out of Atlanta, and it's important because, like, we're raising money because the richest country in the world, they're refusing to pay people, and it's caused a massive homeless epidemic on top of it.
Well, for the ones that are still living, the veterans, not to push back too hard on you, Dave, but I do notice now they do let them board first on airplanes. So
that's true.
I mean, I don't know what else we can do for the veterans. It's like, Jesus Christ, how many things do you people need?
Well, they don't have to take their hat off during the national anthem.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true.
Bonus.
That's true.
That's a big one, I think.
Bonus.
And there is nothing more that I feel that when a hero gets to board first on an airplane for a middle seat in 32B.
I know, right?
Look back at the seats they get, you're like, you're not even going to upgrade this dude. He's in full camo. He's wearing something like, you're in Florida, and he's wearing something that's like burning him alive, and they're like, all right, you will be the middle seat that's against the bathroom, war hero.
Yeah. And you get board. Right. You get to board first and stuff your ass in the back of the tube and just sit there and sweat while the rest of the people board. Like, it'd be better if you let them hang out in the nice bar next to as everybody, all the schlubs board, and then you get to come on last. That's more of a benefit if you ask me.
Yeah, right. Just reserve me some freaking space so I can put my backpack up there and I'll board last.
And I've seen troops get stopped by the people that are boarding the plane to be like, hey, can you put your backpack in the sizer right there? And that's when you do see everyone in America come together and be like, no. He can take whatever he wants. Well, you can stop me, but what, him?
Yeah.
The guy who might be able to save us all if anything goes awry.
Right.
Take his backpack.
It's been driving me insane for so long now. I think this all ties together when you're talking about Fauci. There's a documentary on Blaze, actually, your network. Find Normal World there, weekdays at 10 p.m. Dave is fantastic. His whole team is fantastic. But Glenn that is part of the network, Glenn Beck, and he did an interview, a 4-part documentary interview with someone that has been on Fauci's ass for decades. Saw through Fauci decades ago, starting with AIDS and AZT. I watched that documentary. I'm trying to get the guy that made it on here. It's the final nail in the coffin with
Is
Fauci.
It Matt Kibbe's show?
Matt, yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
It's like you watch that documentary and you see someone bringing the receipts of what has gone on there. And to me, the fact that you've got little no-name podcasts reaching out to him. I haven't seen him on CNN. I haven't seen the New York Times do a piece on this documentary. And I know for a fact people like Amy's mom are going to dismiss it. Oh, it's on the Blaze Network. What is some fucking someone that believes in the orange man and thinks Dr. Fauci is anything but the most stand-up person on earth? How dare you? And it's like, yeah, so you're not even willing to watch this documentary, and it buries Dr. Fauci. And I don't want that guy in prison. I want his credibility to represent what that guy actually represented. Fuck that guy for what he's done to this country. Seriously, it's how I feel.
Listen, if you don't mind a beagle having its vocal cords slit so you can't hear it cry while it's covered in sand fleas, I totally understand liking Dr. Fauci.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you say that.
Similar fate.
Oh, I think the same thing should happen to him.
Yeah.
Like, where
and that's what I think about. That's what I think about the death penalty too. Is like whatever it is that you did, that's what you're getting done to you. So think twice, because if you did some fucked up shit, that's what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. You should be able to.
That
you should
beagle
be dressed
story
as a beagle. Sorry.
Yeah. Put blinders on and let sandflies eat your face until you die. By the way,
cone. Yeah,
cone. That story should have been like front page in every newspaper, liberal, conservative in America. Like, are you insane? And this goes back further. The interview you mentioned with Kash Patel, Dave, that clip in particular about you're going to see, it's not that you don't know the JFK story. It's the connection that continues to this day. Also, shout out to Glenn Beck. It was Glenn Beck who got that interview with Kash. It's one of my favorite clips ever because it explains so much. And if you really think about what Kash is saying in that, they're terrified that you're going to be able to connect the dots. And where those dots connect, whether that sort of behavior and that pattern continues to 9/11 and continues to God knows what, that's the real scare.
I was just scrolling X and I saw that an article that said that the Trump the guy who tried to assassinate Trump on the roof,
Thomas Crooks,
may have had an accomplice and that the FBI is hiding stuff, which wouldn't be surprising.
And that's no. Well, I mean, when you look at that entire thing, the guy's on a roof pointing a gun with a bunch of people yelling that he's there for the entire time. The only thing about the Secret Service was they were keeping a shooter a secret the entire time he was up there. And then you had everybody like just slip and fall like they were on banana peels when they went up to protect him. And that's the fact that people are so divided that they see that and they wished he would die. It's like, do you understand that's an American president? Like, if they did that to Biden, it would be terrifying. Yeah. If they did that to anybody who was an American president, that should be terrifying. And the fact that you're an American citizen championing that, it's tragic. And even to go back to like the Fauci thing, and you have Ron Woodruff, who was the guy who ran the Dallas Buyers Club, who was going into Mexico, figuring out what actual drugs were helping him and helping these other people because they had AIDS, and they were stopped by the government. And what Fauci said worked was what they had to take, even though this guy was just figuring out what concoctions were making him live longer. So it's like, why would you believe anything now is for your benefit when you even know stories like this have existed? And these are the same people that still exist today that are in charge of health that were in charge then.
Do you guys have any opinion on why it is? Like, there used to be a time when a documentary would come out and change everything. And like everybody's view, like as long as the documentary was honest and it would inform people of Fauci, like I guarantee you, the majority of Americans do not know that Anthony Fauci is the villain in Dallas Buyers Club. They don't know it.
No, they don't. And I think they don't want to, or a lot will just refuse to believe it. I think there's so many things that are just dismissed as false because you don't believe it and you don't want to believe it.
Yeah. And people like my mom's age, they just trusted the government. They just trust the government that they're not lying to you. And when you think back to it, and it's like when I was watching those JFK documentaries and everybody crying in the street, and first of all, that would not have happened had the assassination attempt been successful on Trump. There would have been people celebrating in the street. There would have been some people crying, but there would have been some celebrating horribly.
A lot.
But I think that, and I also think that these types of things are so complicated and convoluted that when you start to talk about them, you sound like this crazy conspiracy theorist. So it's easy for someone who's not willing to dive into it to go, you sound crazy, turn off Fox News. And then the conversation's over. And it's like, they don't want to hear anything more about how, how people are being lied to by their government. It's like, oh, you're just a conspiracy theorist. And that's that.
Well, and then you look at somebody like Joy Reid, who was just let go because it was all part of this. Yeah, this sort. Yes, a genie that looks like she takes wishes away. Just this, but her whole job was to demonize every culture that wasn't her own. And now that's no longer effective. It's the same reason with pronouns and everything else. Like Robert Kennedy, and I know him. I campaigned with him. He said the other day there were two genders and people are freaking out and whatever. And it's like, my personal opinion, I think you can be transgender. It's fine. That's just my personal opinion. Sure. But when you look at it, the 45 different genders that came in, the pronouns, the everything else, the mass confusion, that's why you're seeing this massive overcorrect on the other side as well.
Yeah, totally agree. And I think it fails. The story of Gavin Newsome starting a podcast.
Yeah, have you seen
that? Yeah, I did. And so Gavin Newsome announced plans for a podcast. I'm launching a new podcast. We need to change the conversation. I'm talking directly with people I disagree with, people I look up to, and you, the listeners. Egg prices, tariffs, DOGE. We're tackling all your big questions. How do you think this works out, Dave?
Well, I think he's going to dodge a lot of questions, mainly about stuff like this. That's just you can't really see it. That's just
Is that Malibu?
Just Malibu. Yeah. Just a burnt out car. When I was in LA the other day, burnt out buildings.
Yeah.
Another burnt out car. I think he's going to dodge a lot of questions about where was all the water? And also you were next to a body of water and people said, well, the salt might ruin a lot of the homes in the earth. And it's like, as much as
kill the grass.
Fire, Yeah.
It could kill the grass, Dave.
Yeah. It was unbelievable to see this. And I think, honestly, I don't, people keep talking about how handsome he is, for a movie villain.
Yeah.
And if that's the reason that we're voting people in now, I think he is a genuinely evil person.
Well, imagine your state is in the middle of rebuilding one of the biggest natural disasters that's ever happened, and you're starting a fucking podcast.
Yeah.
Like, read the room.
And by the way, it's doubly insulting because doing a podcast or doing a radio show and doing it right is a job. It's a job to stay up on stuff and do the homework necessary. Like, I don't know if anyone's told Gavin Newsome, but he technically has a job that should require his full-time attention. So this, what I wanted to ask you guys though is, do you think anyone, and I'm being serious here, and it's sad as it is to say, can anyone on the left technically do a successful podcast? Like, seriously. Because, and here's, let me set this up a little further. So what's required to do a podcast where you're living on the internet? You're not, you don't have access to the traditional media lines that are established. You need honesty. Okay. You're allowed to be wrong, but as long as you're honest about it, hey, I dropped the ball on that one. My bad. I was wrong. I got this information wrong. Your audience will hang with you through that stuff. Comedy with no concern for anything but the comedy. Open discussions that are willing to hear what someone else has to say. And when you put those parameters on what it really means to do a podcast and have an audience hang with them and trust them and do it, those are the requirements. Honesty, comedy with no concern for anything but the comedy, and open discussions willing to hear out other people's opinions. And so with that with those parameters,
no, not that normal people are going to listen to.
No.
I mean, that's what, like they can't be normal. They don't know how to be normal. So other people who aren't normal will listen to it.
Yeah.
Well, and you're not going to go up against somebody who actually disagrees with you. I mean, we saw that with RFK, trying to get confirmed. We saw that every time Gavin Newsome couldn't talk to a woman who was walking up to him during the fires asking what was being done about it without running to his car.
Right.
You're going to tell me this guy's going to have an actual conversation with an informed person who has real questions about everything? Like, you have this massive homeless problem. When the leader of China came, you somehow made all the homeless people disappear. You are responsible for, this terrible economy, crime that is through the roof, these revolving door jails. He's responsible for so many things that have destroyed California. That the idea too that he is just going to do a podcast and talk to people for what? Solutions? Like, the only reason that you should be doing that is for solutions, and that's not what he's doing. He's trying to do it to prove some sort of an innocence so he can then run for president because people like him. And if you want a guy who can't even stop Malibu from burning to the ground as your president, like that, then we're just done.
Yeah, it's a money laundering scheme to get him some money heading into campaign season.
I look at it like,
it is. He just asked for $4 billion or something. $4 billion. You know that $40 billion. I'm sorry, $40 billion.
It was just a zero.
You know that's not going to repair.
No. Well, when I bring that up for a reason about the honesty comedy, where it's like, you're not worried about, oh my God, I offended someone. How dare me? I need, like, when you look at the heart of cancel culture, if you will, that's when you've established a space where, which is when I say, can the left do a successful podcast? Like, no, they had the almost exclusivity on the narrative and the messaging, whether that's through newspapers, television, Hollywood. That you created a space with no pushback and a place where opposing views were not only not accepted, they weren't welcome on any level. And so when you create that space, like, how do you break into that? Because that's what's required to have, not looking for, oh my God, he said the R word or he said the F word, or like, we need to ruin his life and make sure he can never make a living again. There are people, Dave, that look at you and go, Anthony Cumia, Steven Crowder, Fox News, they would wish you death before success.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so how do you, like, Gavin?
They have,
yeah. Gavin Newsome would, like, okay, you're going to get into that space. Well, what it requires is eliminating all those things that you've established throughout landscape media. When you said, well, you don't like it, go make your own. Well, they did. And they're on the internet thriving.
And they won.
Yeah, they won. So.
Yeah, they did, and they won.
Yeah. So do you think that the left someone like Gavin can even have a chance? Because he's either got to change everything they've done and the rules they've played by, or I don't know.
He has no chance of making it work. He has a chance of having listeners just out of pure morbid curiosity, and he does have fans.
Yeah.
But other than that, like the idea of it actually being a functional podcast that helps to result in anything is the same as it's Congress. It's everything. Nobody's looking for actual answers, because if they keep it divided and they keep fighting, that's how they get paid.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no reason to actually come together on anything in this country. All the money is in the division.
Yeah.
So him even doing this is just another cash grab based on, I'm going to talk to people that have a problem with me. No, you're not.
No.
We all know you're not.
Yeah.
And if he does, what do you edit out? He has the end, he has control in whatever happens in the episode.
Right. I look at it like, well, you had that. You had a left-wing person until you went crazy. You had Joe Rogan basically doing what you're talking about. Do you think Gavin could go out there and have opposing views and come from a center-left kind of position like Rogan does? Rogan's billed as mega MAGA, and it's laughable. It's laughable. If you listen to Joe or if you know Joe.
Yeah, he's pretty liberal. I mean, when you break it down, so am I. But I mean, I got that same amount of crap because, you went on Artie and Anthony, then it became you and Anthony.
Yeah.
Then you went on Crowder, and then you went on Blaze. And it's like, well, see, this is a job, and I'm allowed to say my opinion, and I want to get my story out. And that's what I have to do in order to do it. But people want to think that you just champion whatever it is. It's like, I don't agree with half the stuff that people at my office say.
Yeah.
And I'm allowed to do that. That's what's great about America.
Yeah.
Like that's what it's supposed to be, is you're not supposed to agree with everybody on everything. But the fact that we don't compromise anymore is staggering.
Yeah. Well, I look at it like, for people that are too young to understand, like, Dave Landau's on Blaze Network and he's on Fox. Okay. He's on Gutfeld from time to time. Yeah. What you don't understand is, if this was even 15 years ago, Dave would be on Fox, and then next weekend he'd be on CNN, and the weekend after that he might do a hit on MSNBC. He might have a feature in the New York Times. That's the way it normally went. And now it's like, he's somehow damaged goods because he dared to give his opinion on something that kind of affects all of us, like COVID, that went against the government-approved narrative. Are you shitting me?
Right. And it's like you're a comic doing the #1 TV in late night. How rare.
Mm-hmm. But you're not welcome at CNN anymore. Like Nick DiPaolo used to be on CNN. You could see.
Yeah, Colin Quinn had a special.
Yeah, you could see Jimmy Norton on CNN or Patrice O'Neill. Like they're not welcome there. Yes. Like that's the difference. Like Dave, the comics haven't changed. Okay. True comics that give their opinions on societal issues have not changed. Well, what did? Their access to reaching the people with their opinions on stuff that affects all of us. And so I don't know how Gavin Newsome thinks, like, you're going to welcome opinions. Well, nobody on your team has seemed to want anything to do with opinions that don't directly say exactly what their approved thing is.
Correct. I mean, that's just correct. I mean, there's no other way to put it.
Yeah.
That's perfectly said. I mean, you're not going to have somebody who's not approved and not in front of him and not something that makes him look good, because he's incapable of that. This is a guy who you could say, why were you eating at the French Laundry when everybody else was under lockdown, if you actually believe this? Yeah. He can't give you an answer.
Nope. That should be episode 1. Deep dive into the French Laundry. Like, seriously.
Why were you allowed? Well, because you're an elitist. Yeah. You're in charge of everything. You're part of that group.
Yeah.
And that's never going. And that's why it's like, I don't even know if it's liberal, if it's right, it's anything. It's just, it's a group of very, very, very wealthy people who do not think that the rules apply to them.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. We'll go out on this. I forgot to mention early on, Gene Hackman passed away. And I always love your takes on movies, Dave. I think they're some of the funniest things ever when you break down a movie. I don't know how you store the information. I really don't. But we need more of it. I don't have any Gene Hackman thoughts. I mean, he's fantastic in so many things, but I'm assuming you were a fan.
Dude, I am a diehard fan. I mean, I think he's he's up there with like Paul Newman, like I said, Sidney Poitier. I mean, all these people that really, Steve McQueen,
Matt
these
Damon,
people,
Ben
that
Affleck.
Clint Eastwood, Matt Damon, Ben Affleck for Good Will Hunting. Yeah, I forgot how much you love that movie.
It's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's not your fault.
It's not your
It's not your
fault.
fault.
It's kind of your fault. I'm pulling it out. There's sort of a I love them in everything. Like The Conversation is one of my favorite movies. It's such a simple movie. He's listening to a conversation, hearing a murder. There's The Royal Tenenbaums, the hardest I've left in a theater because of how bizarre it was.
Yeah, it's great.
And just his lines in the movie. Yeah, he's just a guy dying of stomach cancer. And it turns out he's just faking it. So he's eating cheeseburgers and just being shitty to everyone.
Yeah.
Like when he finds out about Ben Stiller's dead wife, he's like, I'm so sorry to hear about it. She was a terribly attractive woman. Just everything he says is this perfect. I mean, from The French Connection to
Superman
Replacements, even
the Christopher Reeve Superman, Lex Luthor. Wasn't he Lex Luthor in those early Supermans?
Yeah, it was in for, I believe, the first three. If I don't think four.
Yeah,
but yeah,
I think you're right.
I believe the first three. But the list that he's done of films is like Unforgiven, The Quick and the Dead. Dude, he's entertaining in everything, and I think it's really sad. Hopefully, it was a gas leak. I'm hoping.
Sounds like he might have been. They might have been dead for
a while.
days.
The last report I saw was that mummified remains.
Mummified.
Yeah, I saw that headline right before we started. Fox is reporting it was breaking news that mummified remains.
Well, see, I thought it was the dog had died because maybe it was a gas leak, but did the dog die because it was just had been so long?
It could have. Like I thought, and this is all breaking today.
Dogs will eat you though.
Dogs won't, right? Cats will. I don't think dogs
will too.
I think dogs will if they get hungry enough.
Yeah, they won't do it right away. Cats won't.
Yeah.
You don't even have to be. You could just be taking a nap.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, totally. And I don't have any problem if Cece wants to nibble on me after I pass away. I don't give a shit. Who cares?
Yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah,
totally get it.
You can eat away.
I thought that the weird thing about it is the New Mexico gas company, the early rumors were that they said there was not a gas leak. But I think Gene was 95. 95 years old.
Yes.
Look, I have a theory. Like, if you look at the life expectancy for men in the USA, it's 74.8 years. Women, as less they are, 80.2 years. So they got 6 years on us that they live. I've long stood by, I think it should be legal to kill anybody over the life expectancy age. So, because you're basically on house money anyways.
Yeah.
Like, you've already won. You're on house money. Every day's a bonus. And if you get a dust up, you're 93 and some guy kills you, like, all right, well, you already won the life lottery.
Why should I have to go away for life?
Yeah, you already won the life lottery by 20 years. Who cares?
Yeah.
Sad as it may be.
You shouldn't be put away for life.
Yeah.
Put me away for 2 years, max.
Like a weekend. A weekend or a work release sort of situation for a month.
I always found it weird, conversely, where like somebody super young dies, but then you get like, you get 15 years manslaughter. And it's like, wow, really? That person was really young.
Yeah.
Like had a whole life left to live.
Yeah.
No, you're right.
I know the media, the way it works, it's going to be like, is there anything suspicious with Gene Hackman? It is a little weird. I think 2 of his dogs were still alive. I mean, he's 95, and I think his wife was 60-something. What?
Some of the dogs were still alive?
That's the part that's weird.
Yeah, I think there were 2.
That's the odd part is two dogs were alive, and they weren't, and 1 dog was dead, which is why I think it may not have been a gas leak unless they were in another part of the house.
Right.
Yeah, but if they were in the basement.
I mean, there's a small chance.
Yeah.
It's possible, yeah.
Do you think there could have been some foul play? Like, who would want to murder Gene Hackman in New Mexico?
I don't know. The day the Epstein list comes out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking, too. It could be murder-suicide.
I made a joke on X that the dog might have been on Epstein's list. That's a possibility. I had no idea that there were 2 additional dogs. So that leads more credence to my theory that something was up with the dog.
Well, the media is going to be salacious and like, there were open pill bottles. I'm like, yeah, he's 95. Like, go into my bathroom. There's like 10 fucking pill bottles in any given moment. Who gives a shit?
Did they say did they say Monday through Sunday on them because it's the only thing keeping you alive when you're 95 years old?
Yeah.
Also, the guy retired from acting over 10 years ago because he just didn't have, the brain power for it anymore to memorize lines.
Yeah.
And he didn't think he could be the best, so he retired.
Yeah.
How are you somebody that famous and nobody talks to you for so long that you're mummified?
I don't know how long mummification takes in a 95-year-old system. My guess is not that long, but
I'm gonna look it up.
Is that like a couple weeks thing?
I would assume it would be quicker.
The complete mummification process can take 70 days.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Now, is that of this kind of mummification or of Egypt mummification?
Good question. Yeah, I think it's different.
They just go in and he's just wrapped in toilet paper.
Wait. Jesus, I'm like,
while you Google that, I'll do a couple reads real quick before I forget. Sorry, Dave, if you've got to run, let me know. But we'll wrap up here in a second. And again, if you're in the Vegas area,
do you think?
Go see Dave Landau performing at Brad Garrett's. I hear that place is amazing. So.
Dave, my mom, actually the text I was getting when I very rudely checked my watch in the middle of your story about your dad, was my mom saying that if she goes to your show in Fort Myers, her and my stepdad are wearing matching shirts. So, because
tell them. Well, I love that they would. I love that they would. They have to.
This part of the show is brought to you by your insurance expert. Are you paying too much for health insurance? Are you uninsured? Health insurance can be confusing. Nick Matthews from Your Insurance Expert is an expert in health insurance, life insurance, and Medicare supplements. So you do not have to be. Call Nick 248-914-1173. Nick will change your life as far as dealing with insurance companies. Also, the Deer Lake Athletic Club in Clarkston has a full gym, fitness classes, 3 pools, swim lessons, tennis, pickleball, all that stuff, childcare as well. There's a backcourt restaurant inside Deer Lake Athletic Club, weekly specials like Taco Tuesday, Quizzo on Wednesdays, kids meals for just $5 on Thursdays, along with Wednesday and Thursday dinner specials, live entertainment Fridays and Saturdays, breakfast on Sundays. Also offer a special Sunday menu after 1 o'clock. If you need to book an event, call Emily 248-625-8686 or go to 6167 White Lake Road in Clarkston or go to their website, deerlakeathletic.com. One club for the whole family. Did you find anything on mummification?
Yes, the New York Times. Bodies left in hot, arid environments can typically mummify in about 2 weeks, while the process typically takes a couple of months in enclosed locations. So,
okay. So a couple.
Well, they had to be closed too.
They had to be what? What was that, Dave? What did you say? They had to be close?
Oh.
Is that what you said?
I forgot what I was sorry. I was responding out loud to a text.
I was like, wait.
So now I just come off like a psycho.
Yeah, Dave's bringing up a great point. They have to be close.
You were doing reads.
No, you're.
I thought you were muted because you were doing reads.
That's hilarious.
I was using voice to text.
I'm like, oh, Dave's taking this in a totally different direction. What say you, sir?
Yeah. Oh my. That is.
Anything else?
Sorry, I thought I was muted.
No,
I'm so stupid.
No, you're good.
All right. Anyway.
No.
God, what a brain.
I'm sure we'll get more on.
I should retire from acting.
Yeah. By the way, your acting skills are really good, dude. I was telling the story about when we did the bit, me, you, and Drew. Well, the whole team.
It was fun.
Yeah, it was so cool. But I was at multiple times during that, you were in character because you had lines coming up and you were given this look like confused, disgusted because of the role Drew and I were playing. And I'm looking at you while it's being filmed and I'm like, oh, Dave looks really upset. We must be really fucking this up. And no, it was just you acting. And I'm like, oh, but I mean, literally after we wrapped and left, I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense for the bit. I should probably never act again.
I thought you were tremendous in it. I mean, the whole thing is just terrible morning radio. Thank you. Yeah, I thought you were great in it. I thought Drew was great. It was just fun to do, where you have the comic saying every hacky thing ever, and then just the hacky radio DJs.
Yeah, so
and then you're kind of the fish out of water who just is like, dude, what? No. Like Drew's still sticking with the you're listening to BJ and the Naked Guy, 105.1, The Drive.
Yeah.
And then Angela with her voice.
Oh, Angela with the
so
voice
funny.
box. Don't lose her, man. She's so good.
Funny.
She's so good.
I know.
I mean, she really is a good little actress. Yeah. All right, why don't we wrap it there? Go see Dave at Brad Garrett's this weekend, and you gonna be back in Michigan anytime soon for shows?
I will be. I'll be. Yeah, I think I'm there in 2 weeks. I could be wrong.
Okay. He's super on top of the dates.
So yeah,
Dave knows all about his dates.
I really
just check out his website. It's accurate.
Yeah, it's spot on right that I'm not going to immediately get off the phone and.
Well, Dave, thank you so much for giving us the time today. I know it's so fun. Amy and I were looking forward to it, and you delivered as always. Thank you, everybody. Have a great weekend. We'll be back next week. And
I feel I was wound up, but thank you.
Yeah, no, dude, you were great. You're always great. And I can't wait to do.
I got sassy.
I can't wait to come back out to Dallas and hang with you guys again. And I was looking.
You both should come.
I'd love to.
You want to, Ames?
Amy is invited if you would like to come.
Let's
I
do
figured
it.
that's what you meant by both, but I wasn't totally sure when you said both. So thanks for clarifying.
I think I'd love to. No, I would love to have you on the show.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Let's do it, Ames. Let's we can meet in Dallas, fly out there, and have a blast. It's so fun. It's so fun. And I you know who I've really enjoyed on your show as well, Dave, is Candace.
Yeah,
Candace Horbuck.
She's great.
She is really good.
Yeah, Horback.
Horback. Yeah. I didn't know her backstory at all, and I'm like, she's really good. I mean, her and there was the guy with the long curly hair, Ian, maybe.
Mm-hmm. I know who you're talking about.
No, that's Jimmy.
Jimmy,
that's my buddy Jimmy.
Is he on?
Oh no, there's Ian. Well, there's Ian from Tim
Pool's show.
That's who I'm thinking of.
He was really good too.
He's great.
Yeah. But both of them stood out to me. I was like, God, that Candace is really strong, and Ian I thought was really good. It's just some good stuff, dude. Keep it up.
Dude, thank you. Candace is incredibly smart, and because of her past, I think I've seen people go at her and troll her and stuff, and it bothers me because it's like it's just like piss off. Like everybody in this country who uses porn, and you're gonna pretend like you're somehow above it because she's I think she's genuinely a really good person and a very intelligent person.
Yeah,
and I enjoy having her on the show for both those
It
reasons.
really
comes. Do porn? Is that?
Oh yeah.
Oh okay. That's
she did a lot of.
Okay, gotcha.
She's very good at it.
She did it under the name Eva Lovia, and she was very, very popular at it. I had never heard of her, and I'm not just saying that to
I hadn't either.
Believe me, I've jerked off to plenty of porn.
Yeah,
but I have just never. Sorry, I didn't mean to be so.
No, me too.
But we're all human.
I feel the same way, Dave. I'd never heard of her, and but so often you see actresses, if you will, in that industry, and they're on a panel, and they're terrible. They have no business being on a microphone. They come off.
Oh yeah, they used to come on Anthony's show.
Yeah. I did one of those episodes with you and Anthony when we had someone on, and she was fine, but it was just like there's a stereotype there, and I thought, watching that episode, and I didn't know who she was. It was like, oh, a pretty girl, cool. What's she doing? And when I heard her background, I don't care. And then watched her, I was like, oh shit, she's really good, opinionated, knows what she's talking about. And it's good. It goes against the shitty stereotype that someone with that background in that industry gets. So,
I still think about how was it Lisa Ann with Drew and Mike, who you guys had an interview with her, and she was such a bitch, and she was like delayed or something outside of the airport, and she was maybe, or was it that wouldn't have been at 105.1 Sports. It had to have been at Drew and Mike. Do you remember that?
You know what? There's so many guests that I don't remember.
God,
I mean, we had
Lisa. We had Lisa Ann on Kumia, and she was really nice.
Oh, was she? Maybe I'm thinking of somebody else.
Well, no, I mean, she may have just, kind of flipped how she was. I mean, who knows if she was on something? It's very possible that she,
Brandy Love, she's a porn star,
no.
but she's like conservative, and she's like kind of older. I think you'd see her in the MILF category if I had to guess. But
okay,
she retweeted me one day, like a picture of me that was on X, and she retweeted it, and I was just like, man, I just don't know. I don't know that I need that going out to all your clientele. Brandy Love, like,
Yeah. Well, because it's 80% of the clientele a lot of the time can be very drooly incels that you just don't want to.
Totally.
Yeah, it's creepy.
Yeah.
I think Candace has done a good job of kind of bridging that because she's very opinionated.
Yeah.
I don't want to say she's like fully changed her way. I'd say she's probably still sexually free in like pictures and stuff, but it's like I have no need to go watch it. But but for people that are so hypocritical, when she was on my show, I didn't know her background either. And all of a sudden my phone's blowing up going, that's evil of you. It's like, I got 40 friends that are impressed by this, and we're gonna pretend that it's her fault.
Well, I did know the comments. Sometimes when I'm watching your show, the comments are on, or maybe it was another clip of her on Instagram or something. Because I was like, who is this chick? I've never heard of her, but she's really good. And it's 3 comments in, and then it dives right into the the cheap shots about your past life, like nobody, and it's like, okay, if that's the world you want to live in, where it's just like you're gonna try to get it by insulting the shit out of some girl. It's like I don't get it. I listened to her.
People are so mean. People are so mean. It's crazy.
Yeah, and usually it means they disagree with whatever political take she's got or whatever opinion she has, and instead of just arguing with that opinion, it's like, yeah, well, take it in the ass, Eva, and you're like, okay. Shit like that.
Yeah, well, truthfully, I think so much of it boils down to sexuality, where you have somebody who is attractive, who has an opinion, and then that actually infuriates people because they know they can't have them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that really bothers, because I see it happen with Angela on the show. I'm sure it happens to Amy. I'm sure it happens to like
Trudy.
every woman I've seen in this business. Yeah, Trudy gets it too. I've seen that, and it's like, you have these people that I think that anger just comes from a place of like, all right, dude, so you have no charisma, no idea how to talk to a woman, and now you're angry at how your life turned out. You're taking it out on any chick that you can. I think that's what it is. I think it's a lot of that just rage at themselves not being able,
and they know they can't have you, and would never look in your direction if you weren't saying horrible shit.
Right.
Yeah, and you
might be surprised. A girl might talk to you if you didn't behave the way that you do.
Yeah,
dude,
you'd be surprised.
It's funny when you figure that out for the first time, and I'm sure you have dealt with this for years, Dave. But when I've told the story before about people emailing in like, and they would rag on Mark and I for whatever reason, and then you'd meet them at a bar event somewhere, and it's like, oh, that's the guy that's been emailing and shitting all over me. And they're the most disgusting losers you'd ever see. It's like, why did I give 1 ounce of like, oh my God, I hope this guy doesn't say something mean about me. And it's like, they're compensating for whatever horrible life existence they're living. There's so much of that.
Dude, their face isn't an egg emoji or whatever because they have a wonderful face and they're billionaires with time on their hands to attack you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This isn't the cream of the crop.
Yeah.
These are absolute failures who have nothing better to do.
I don't think anybody that has a picture has ever been the one to make fun of my appearance. It's always somebody that's behind some fake photo or emoji, and it's like, let's post your picture up in here, and you could probably use some fucking Botox. So
well, and I love when they do post their picture or they'll say something, and I'm just like, I get to go through your whole Facebook profile and just decimate.
And I'm a professional comedian.
And it's like, because You decided you wanted to get shitty with me. And it's always over something where I'm like, that's the thing you're mad about?
Isn't that the weirdest part? That's the weirdest part. That's always been the weirdest part to me, where when people declare something, I will never listen again, and it's over something like so trivial small and dumb. And you're like, really? Of all the shit that's come out of my mouth over the years, that's the thing that is thrown.
Right.
I'm guessing there's something else going on, sir.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's you. Or it's like when you have a guest on, like, why would you even talk to this person? And you go, well, I'd like to speak to everybody about their opinions because I'm actually trying to live that brand.
Yeah.
So I do want to hear other people's opinions, even if I don't agree with them.
Yeah.
And the idea that you're just supposed to attack them immediately. Look, if something gets heated, fine.
Yeah.
But it's like, the reason why you guys for a living or this for a living is because you think me inviting on somebody I view as an opponent and then screaming at them is what's good radio. And it doesn't work like that.
Yeah. No, it doesn't ever work like that. It's not, it's harder than it looks. And it's like, dude, just stick to whatever you're doing over there. I don't worry about what you're doing. Listen, enjoy if you like it, or don't listen. That's what I choose to do.
I mean, the rational
or like fast forward 15 seconds.
Yeah, that one part you didn't like, you can pretend it didn't happen.
Yeah, exactly. Hey guys, thank you so much. Thank you for all the time. Dave, we'll see you in Dallas soon. We will take you up on that offer. Yeah, and I can't wait for you to come. Yeah, I can't wait for you to come to Arizona either, dude. I kept looking at your schedule. I'm like, this dick is not coming to Arizona. I got a room for you. Whatever. And I can be your chauffeur. You got Phoenix?
Yeah, Phoenix coming up. Yeah.
Yeah. When?
I believe in May at Stir Crazy in Glendale. Yeah. Go to my site. It's half right. I gotta really check that. But yeah, I'm doing Glendale, and it's I'll be at Stir Crazy, which is this cool little room my friend owns.
Oh my God, why don't you stay here if you want? I mean, some people like staying in hotels, but if you want to stay here and hang out and do a show,
I'll come hang out with you. Why wouldn't I?
Yeah, let's do it. I didn't know. I thought I looked at your schedule, and I don't know. I must have missed it.
No, that one for sure is accurate.
Okay.
Awesome.
Cool. That's in May. Dude, consider it booked. That's great. All right, guys. Have a great weekend. Have fun at Brad Garrett's, Dave, and I will talk to you guys soon. All right, Amy, I'll see you on Monday. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Okay.